Attorney General Pam Bondi testified before the Senate Judiciary Committee yesterday, resulting in several contentious exchanges with Democrats on that committee. At several points, Bondi launched into personal attacks against some of them. I've frankly never seen anything like it, when they accused her of deflecting or refusing to answer their questions. Specifically, Democrats asked Bondi about a range of issues, from National Guard deployments and immigrant arrests in U.S. cities to President Trump directing prosecutions of his political enemies, including the indictment of former FBI Director James Comey, as well as files related to Jeffrey Epstein and many other issues.
Attorney General Bondi, is a simple yes-no question. Do you believe that government officials like Gregory Bovino are obligated to follow applicable court orders, whether they agree with them or not? Yes or no?
First, Senator Padilla, you have gone on for over 5 minutes, and I wish that you loved your state of California as much as you hate President Trump. We'd be in really good shape then, because violent crime in California is currently 35% higher than the national average.
I do want to go back to Homan. You know, there's a tape, right, with Mr. Homan? I mean, first of all, is there a tape that has audio and video of the transfer of the $50,000?
You would have to talk to Director Patel about that.
No, I'm talking to you.
I don't know the answer, Senator.
Yeah, you do know the answer to that.
Don't call me a liar.
I didn't call you a liar.
You just said I know the answer. I said I don't know the answer.
Well,
there's been public reporting that Jeffrey Epstein showed people photos of President Trump with half-naked young women. Do you know if the FBI found those photographs in their search of Jeffrey Epstein's safe or premises or otherwise? Have you seen any such thing?
You know, Senator Whitehouse, you sit here and make salacious remarks, once again trying to slander President Trump left and right, when you're the one who was taking money from one of Epstein's closest confidants, I believe, I could be wrong, correct me, Reid Hoffman, who was with Jeffrey Epstein on multiple occasions. And the senator sitting right next to you tried to block the flight logs from being released. Yet you're grilling me on President Trump and some photograph with Epstein? Come on.
The question is, did the FBI find those photographs that have been discussed publicly by a witness who claimed Jeffrey Epstein showed them to him? You don't know anything about that. Okay.
Why did you publicly claim to have the Epstein client list waiting for your review and then produce nothing relevant to that claim?
If you listen to my entire clip on that, I said I had not reviewed it yet, that it was sitting on my desk.
Who gave the order to flag records related to President Trump?
I'm not going to discuss anything about that with you, Senator.
Eventually, you're going to have to answer for your conduct in this. And you won't do it today, but eventually you will.
Did you discuss James Comey with the President of the United States? He was sitting just to your left.
Well, 2 seats down, yes. 2 seats down. And I am not going to discuss any conversations I've had or not have with the President of the United States.
Because the American public is entitled to know.
This is supposed to be an oversight hearing.
Oversight?
Excuse me, you can attack me after my time is over.
You've attacked all of us, including President Trump, for your entire career.
You can attack me later, and I know you've got plenty of canned attacks. We've heard them all day to day.
Canned attacks on you?
This is supposed to be...
No one needs a canned attack on you.
Regular order, Madam Chair. I'm trying to speak. This is supposed to be an oversight hearing of the Justice Department.
This is an emerging pattern that we've seen in the last few weeks of cabinet members and top Trump administration officials coming before committees and speaking to senators that way, lashing out at them, being combative. It is stunning. You rarely see anything like it, and yet it seems to be becoming a pattern. And amid yesterday's hearing, that's one of the questions that I asked Democratic Senator Cory Booker of New Jersey. Here's some of what he told me, his reaction.
I do want to ask you about the way that you were conducting your questions to the Attorney General. I thought with you, she actually answered the substance of your questions, but with many of your colleagues, it seemed like she came ready with lines of attack of her own. What do you make of this trend, the tone and tenor that we've seen from Trump administration officials coming up here to testify as you guys are doing your job of oversight?
Yeah, I've never seen kind of personal attacks. Kash Patel just not even coming out of the blocks, sort of attacking senators in a very personal manner. That's not the way it should be done. We have a responsibility, actually, as spelled out in the Constitution, to provide oversight and checks and balances. It's really unfortunate because everybody in that room wants to see violent crime go down, and we have real questions about using the Department of Justice as an arm of the president, as his personal attorneys, to prosecute his personal political vendettas, to pull people away from the kind of crimes that we want solved, and instead focus on people like Comey and other political targets of his. And he's not hiding it. He's being very open. He's literally tweeting at the Attorney General of the United States of America, telling her to take out my enemies in a prosecutorial manner.
Important for us to remember here, Congress's job is oversight of the other branches of government, federal agencies like Bondi's. That's why they were having this hearing in the first place. It was called Oversight of the Department of Justice. I want to bring in now senior writer for Politico magazine, Ankush Khardori. Ankush, thanks for joining us this morning. I want to get your overall reaction, key takeaways from yesterday's hearing. Obviously, for me, the tone was so striking, but they hit a number of issues that are really important.
Well, look, I share your view. I thought what happened yesterday was remarkable and sad and offensive. This is the nation's top law enforcement official. She is supposed to represent the whole country, not just the Republican Party and not just Donald Trump. And what we saw yesterday was an attorney general who's really dug in on this approach to her job over the last 8 months. I was shocked but not surprised by her behavior yesterday. This is the most, I think, the most aggressive she has been, but all of the core elements were there. Her combativeness, the non sequiturs, the ad hominems, the canned attacks, the political defenses of Trump, the slavish devotion to Trump. It was all out on full display. In terms of the substance of it, I think, look, the key takeaway is, first of all, I think she has lost her ability to have any sort of credibility with the public writ large. I think she lost it yesterday, if she had much of it left anyway. But in terms of substance, she has done a fairly remarkable thing in a short period of time. Yesterday, we heard her say she wants to return the Justice Department to its core mission of fighting violent crime. Now, that sounds good, but what she actually means is immigration enforcement, drugs, and guns, and mostly just immigration enforcement. Gun prosecutions are down, drug prosecutions are down, white-collar crime, financial fraud prosecutions are down. There have been reports that even the child sex exploitation and trafficking cases have been adversely affected as a result of the immigration push. And, her construct of violent crime, which we heard over and over and over again, real crime, over and over and over again, it excludes, I think by design, things like white-collar crime, financial fraud, foreign election interference, cybersecurity, public corruption, both domestic and international. All of these things used to be, for the last 25 years, sort of marquee components of the Justice Department and the FBI's law enforcement portfolio, and they have managed to gut and deprioritize those things in just a matter of months.
It's early. You're allowed to have a few misspoken things. I do it all the time. But I do think that there were a few things that stood out to me because those were issues that senators asked about, basically the realignment of entities within the DOJ geared towards doing immigration enforcement, specifically within the FBI. But I thought the other thing that sort of fits into a piece that you just wrote for Politico magazine was the way that Senator John Kennedy of Louisiana, a Republican, asked her about the Epstein files. He also asked Kash Patel about this. This is the second time he's pressed a Trump administration member about it. And he said, hey, don't you want to speak to the Commerce Secretary, Howard Lutnick, who recently did a podcast interview where he talked about having been Epstein's neighbor and Epstein's proclivity towards blackmailing people. Don't you want to talk to them about this? And Bondi really dodged the question, said, well, if he wants to talk to the FBI will talk to him. But I think it fits the piece that you wrote for Politico magazine because you write about Bondi as being perhaps the most openly political and partisan AG in modern American history. Explain why you say that and how it applies to things like the ongoing investigation of Jeffrey Epstein. And I say ongoing because how the House Oversight Committee is investigating it. DOJ is trying to basically wash its hands of it.
That's exactly right. It's funny, I'm sure you can sort of recall a similar feeling of your own, but I was a little anxious about putting that assessment out into the world. I've been working on the piece for a while, and it is an assertive, sharp set of words that I use, the most openly political and partisan. I think she proved that out 100% yesterday. And, in terms of like her approach to the job, I mean, her approach to Epstein has been basically to stonewall and to go silent ever since they issued this joint DOJ FBI memo, effectively debunking themselves by saying that Epstein had killed himself and that there was no list or grand conspiracy, the things that Bondi, Kash Patel for years, Trump for years had been kicking around in public and fomenting. And so now all of a sudden it's, other people's fault and other people's problem. I mean, I'm still sort of gobsmacked by the video of her going back and forth with the White House on White House having taken campaign donations from Reid Hoffman, who was once affiliated with Epstein. I mean, Pam Bondi has her job because she was put into it by Donald Trump, who was friends with Jeffrey Epstein and, has been swept up in a criminal investigation that was conducted and now it sort of resides under her. So the attacks are like odd and crazy on their face. They don't make much sense. But yeah, I mean, I think that she has really refashioned this job into one that is, at least the public-facing part of it, largely about defending Donald Trump and serving Donald Trump's interests. Yesterday's performance was not a surprise because Kash Patel had done something similar, but Kash Patel did not have, he was never really much of a serious lawyer or a well-regarded lawyer. Pam Bondi had a different type of profile, and I think that profile, to the extent she had it, and it was different, is gone.
Yeah, I think all of it was really indicative of kind of the role that she's fashioned into herself. And I do think that we should remind that while there are a lot of questions around transparency and why the Trump administration is not doing more, the president is not criminally implicated in the Epstein scandal. Ankush Khardori, we'll leave it there with you. Thank you for starting us off this morning. I appreciate it.